Hello and welcome to this edition of Africa Plus. I'm Haj and I'll be the host of today's program. With me today I have Mr. Richard Mbakop, the president of Africa for Change, an organization that is taken as its main purpose to actually initiate change within the continent and also within Africans here in the diaspora. Mr. Richard Mbakop, welcome to Africa Plus.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to have me on this wonderful program at Africa Plus. I would like to start by paying tribute to a great civil rights leader, Martin Luther King, that has done a lot in order to picture America, this great country, the way it looks today.
Yes, yes, and it is about that time in which Martin Luther King's birthday is celebrated. So this month, and I believe would be the Black History Month, or next month will be Black History Month. But anyway, during this time we do tend to celebrate most of our African roots and everything else that has to do with the civil rights movement and also with the era of Malcolm X. But let's talk about the motherland a little bit. Let's start with your organization, okay? Africa for Change. Tell us exactly, what is Africa for Change?
Africa for Change is a political organization, okay? Purely political. This has been initiated because of what Africa has been going through for many years. Okay. And we felt that Africans did not do quite what they were supposed to be doing in terms of claiming their right. And this continent, which happened to be the richest on earth, is the poorest, which is a controversy. It is a paradox, right. Anyway. So it was about time to put something in place in order to call upon Africans and friends of Africa to stand up and make this change happen. Not only within Africa itself, but also within Africans in a diaspora.
Okay, so basically what you're telling us is that your organization is a political organization that tends to change Africa within Africa and also the Africans in the diaspora.
Absolutely. The reason being that in order for this change to happen in Africa, those that have had a chance to get out of Africa have learned a lot, have seen how democracy works.
Okay.
And it's time for them to help Africa. How will they help Africa? By, first of all, get people that are here abroad to understand that they have more opportunities, okay, to influence the politics in Africa.
Okay. Now, you and I both know, I mean, I take it that you are an African. If you don't mind us asking, which country are you exactly from?
I've been born and raised in Cameroon, in Central Africa.
Okay. So you and I both know that, I mean, it is one thing to be born in Africa. It is another thing to be raised in Africa. And it is a whole different thing to be born in Africa, raised in America, and then going back to Africa. Okay. Your reception in Africa isn't always quite very welcome, especially when you bring about change. I mean, what exactly does your organization do to facilitate that process?
What the organization aims at, it is to be able to influence the political arena of Africa. Okay. What I mean is working with international as well as national organizations to be able to have a say. Because when a human being sits down and look at what's going on, all this crisis around Africa, it's time, I think, a human being that feels that we all have been created by God and one person that is God, I should really do something, because sometimes I cry when I see all this going on. Mm-hmm. So the organization will be working, first of all, with Africans in here, let's say in the diaspora, basically in America, to let them know that it's time to stand up and do something for themselves, instead of waiting for other people. And then also working with international organizations such as, and not limited to the UN, okay, the AU, okay, the EU, Why not the White House,
Right.
The State Department,
Okay.
the Congress, and we've done something in that regard.
Okay. So what exactly have you guys done in that regard?
This organization has been initiated at some point of life where basically what happened to Togo, in Togo,
Okay.
had triggered this action.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
It was in February 2005, last year,
Okay.
when late President Eyadema passed away, and his son was just put in power by this military.
Okay.
I thought it was a shameful act from Africans.
Okay.
And
But I mean, why a shameful act? I mean, the same thing happened in other places, such as Congo, for instance.
we're talking about Congo, of course. When you bring up Congo, we can dwell on that. I don't know if we have enough time to dwell on that. It happens in Congo.
Right.
But however, I think I take something that I can really lean on, let's say, that really got me.
Okay.
In a Congo, it's a different ball game, even though they might look alike. We might talk about that if we have enough time.
Definitely.
But in Togo, we don't want Africa to become a dynasty,
Okay.
where somebody, a president, after ruling for 38 years and did not do anything good anyway, for these people, will pass away, and then his son, because of the military preserving their interest, will put him in power. We're looking in the 21st century for democracy, for people to speak out for themselves, choose their leaders, not because of a faction of people that are guiding the interest to put someone in power. Okay. When that happened, then it was time to really act, even though that was in the back of my head for a long time.
Understood.
So the action that was taken was to call the State Department.
Okay.
That's the first thing that was done by this organization.
Okay.
Call the State Department and ask to speak to someone in that State Department regarding the matter. We were asked, who would you like to speak to? Just say, want to speak to someone regarding which matter? We said, this problem in Togo. Are you from Togo? No. I'm not from Togo.
Exactly. And which actually makes me want to ask you, and did you have anyone from Togo? Do you have anyone from Togo in your organization?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
And I didn't have to be from Togo. I'm pleading for Africa as a whole.
Okay.
So this touched me so much
Right.
that the State Department was called, and I wanted to set an appointment
Right.
with someone to sit down and discuss this, because enough was enough. Okay. Unfortunately, the lady I spoke with told me that there were 3 people that could speak to me. 2 of them went to Togo for this matter, and the other one was busy trying to find out what was going on.
Okay.
Okay. Later on, I called the Congress and asked to speak to someone in the Department of African Affairs. But unfortunately, they connected me to a voicemail. I left a message, and we never had any call, any return. Did not. When this occurred, this kind of not letting us in,
Right.
we understood that it was about time to back off a little bit.
Okay.
And find a strategy, be more powerful, and be able to come back in a different way.
Okay.
And be heard.
Okay, so you guys backed up, and
then,
currently, where are you?
Currently, we are working in order to be able to get in touch, get in relationship with these organizations I talked about, international organizations,
Okay.
so that they can know that we exist. Because maybe the problem was maybe because they did not know who we were.
Understood.
So now we have to let them know that we exist and we have a say in African matters.
Okay. Now, I take it that the organization is registered?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What state are you based in?
In D.C.
You're based in D.C.
In
Washington, D.C.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay. Now, I also understand, and actually, that I heard by word of mouth that you guys also did something regarding the matter of African citizens crossing the African border to enter Europe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. It is terrible. When I looked at pictures of these African desperate in their countries, trying to cross the borders of Morocco and Spain in order to go and look for safe haven. And they were being shot at by Spanish and as well as Moroccans. Soldiers, and that really made me cry. I had tears.
Okay, but I just have a question. I mean, when you say Africans, I mean Morocco is an African country, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, now were these citizens from Morocco crossing the border, or these were citizens from other countries crossing the border through Morocco?
They were not Moroccans. Okay. They were from a variety of African countries, such as Cameroon, such as Mali, such as Senegal. There was a variety, Congo, and they were leaving their countries, their respective countries, right, through, I don't know which way, suffering, spending years to get to Morocco.
In the migration process.
And then, that's right. Okay. They were using many means. Once they got there, many of them were living in a bush for years. I've heard statements. I've listened to news. They were saying, some were saying they left their family, a man with maybe a wife and kids, because he has no way to help his family. He's desperate, with no hope. And we all know that when you lose hope, you're no longer alive. We live because we hope of a better tomorrow. And they're just trying to cross that border, even against death. They say, even if I'm going to die, because in my country I have no hope. And they were trying to get something to feed their families. And why did they shoot at them? It was an act that was shameful and very disturbing for the humankind.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. I mean, we got I kind of just have to ask you. I mean, absolutely, I can understand Morocco's position in taking the action that they took.
Okay.
Because it is their responsibility to protect their borders, especially at a time in which terrorism is such a major issue. Okay. What is your organization doing? I mean, is your organization upset because those people got shot at and did something to stop them from being shot? Or did your organization do something to actually go fix the problem in these people's countries so that they don't have to go and cross other people's borders?
That's a good question. Well, the organization is working, right, got angry, let's say, the concern of the organization, I'll put it that way.
Right.
Of course, every country has to protect its border. It does make sense. Right. But however, you can hold somebody that is crossing your border. That doesn't give you the right to shoot at this person. You can get the person and then try to find out what's going on. Instead of just shooting at them, right, or sending them back, that won't solve any problem. I think that the most important thing is, and talking about that, I met the Moroccan ambassador. Right. He was kind enough to let me into the embassy surrounded with the Secret Service. So we had at least 2 hours conversation, which was greatly appreciated, and he gave me some versions of the fact. I'm talking about the fact that you said right, it is an African country.
Exactly. And yes, what was his version of the story?
Let me go back a little bit, sure, about this protest.
Okay.
This protest came about this situation we just mentioned, right, and we're talking about. That was organized on the 21st of October, from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, in front of the embassy of both Spain and Morocco.
Okay.
We were there in the morning at the embassy of Spain, because that's the main concern there. And we were calling upon Zapatero to change the policy, because shooting at at those kids. You mentioned terrorism earlier. They were not terrorists. They were not armed. They were just people, hungry people, that were trying to have a safe haven.
I understood, but there is no, at that point, from speaking from as an authority of a country, you do not know whether they are terrorists or they not.
Well, we all follow media. We all read.
True.
We all read.
True.
We have phone calls that we make in
true.
order to find out.
That is
And
true.
among all these people, no officials of these two countries had said that they were armed or they were terrorists. So from that point of view, I can be the advocate.
Okay.
But so, however, when we left a group. We split. A group left other people in front of the embassy of Spain and went in front of the embassy of Morocco. The ambassador, the Secret Service was waiting, and they approached me. They said, "Okay, you Richard Mbakop?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Okay, the ambassador would like to meet with you, but with no media involved. Would you like to do that?" And I agreed. So I got in there, escorted by a Secret Service. And they warmly let me in.
Okay.
That was good. We sat down with the ambassador and his staff, and we talked about this matter. And he gave me his version of fact. He told me Morocco is an African country. He wouldn't be doing what media are saying that they've been doing. And he mentioned that his president, Mohammed VI, has taken so much steps in order to find the solution to this problem, but Spain, on the other hand, did not do anything at all. He gave me so many examples that they were not the one that even took these young people and threw them without food in a desert. They took them back to the border of Algeria, from where they came to get into Morocco. And Algeria is the one that took them to the desert, about 400 miles inside, and left them over there and called the media to portray Morocco as being the bad one. So they gave me all this. And I had some kind of written statement,
an
official statement from that.
So what you're saying to me is you started an uprising. You go to the embassy of Morocco, and the ambassador of Morocco, of course, he receives you, talks to you about the situation, but points the finger at Algeria.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. By pointing, I don't know if we're going to say pointing fingers, but he was explaining,
Right.
giving his version of
Right.
fact.
In which, in his version of the story, Morocco is not the country at fault, but Algeria is.
Morocco, of course, you have to defend yourself,
I understand.
which makes sense.
I understand.
And I got a written statement
Right.
from a geologist, Algerian geologist.
Okay.
That was given to me by the Moroccan embassy,
Okay.
stating that Algerians are the one that took people about 400 miles within the desert and dropped them over there without food. Okay. So that's the version I got from there. I did not have enough means. But he said that, I asked him, what did your government do in order to solve this? They said they called upon the UN to get a meeting in order to see what needs to be done about this. Okay. So they told me so many things that we cannot dwell on it so much.
I understand.
Because of time.
And what has your organization done, I guess, after that? What did your organization do?
After that, what had happened is, in order to be strong, we have to get decent, devoted, determined people. So what the organization is doing now is to be able to really, at the beginning you might have so many people that are defending the same cause. But now, who is doing the right thing? So many people come together and many of them have their personal interest. So the process that the organization is going through now is to be able to really single out those people that are truthfully standing for the cause, putting the general interest ahead of the personal one. So this is the process the organization is going through. And I'm very, very determined to make sure that this works that way. Get the right people to do the right job. And we're on the right track.
Okay, that is very good. Now we got approximately 3 minutes for us to go through other topics in the African continent. So I'm going to give you very fast questions, and I want you to come back to me very fast also. Okay, time flies by when we're discussing good things. And
my goodness.
Okay, let's start with the situation in Congo. Okay, president dies, son takes over. What is that?
Well, it doesn't sound right.
Okay.
It doesn't sound right.
In your opinion, what should be done?
In my opinion, I think the people should be the one that would decide. Okay. I said that at the beginning. Okay. They should be the one electing the officials.
Through a democratic election.
A democratic election.
Okay, now let's say that does not happen, for instance, the same way it happened in Congo. Do you believe that either the United Nations or the African Union should have the right to forcefully remove the president from the country and charge them, bring them to a court, or should they just leave it alone and watch?
They shouldn't leave it alone. They shouldn't leave this kind of situation alone. Because what happens is when these dictators starve their people, when they don't take care of their people, when they make their people suffer, what happens is that these people will go back and need help from the United Nations, from the international community. Exactly. So they have to anticipate and do it before it gets worse. So if they found out, if they can establish accurately that a dictator is doing such a thing, or they should be able to remove him and punish him accordingly. Okay,
now let's go back down to Côte d'Ivoire. Elections in 2006. Okay, right now several candidates running. Out of them, one is being accused of being actually a foreigner who's running. What's your take on it?
Well, my take on it, Ouattara, they've talked about him in a lot of ways. He has served, of course, in Côte d'Ivoire as well as in Burkina Faso as a high official. Right. So that could create a polemic because you should either be one way or the other, or choose. Okay.
But in your opinion, should the United Nations step in and actually take action upon it, or should they just let it go in order to maintain peace?
Well, at this point, I think that a lot has already been done, and the actual Prime Minister, Mr. Konambani, has been given even this roadmap that needs to be followed in order to get stable and fair elections this coming years.
All right. And I thank you very much for coming out, and trust me, this is a very good discussion, and I would like to continue this at some other time, but unfortunately we have very little time to discuss this situation because there are a lot of topics that still we have not touched, because I wanted to discuss with you several other things. Now, for those of you that don't quite understand what the situation is, there is one thing that is going out there, such as the African mentality. And in closing, I would like to say that you need to make sure that we put that African mentality in check. Dictatorships, presidencies taken by force need to be brought to a stop. The democratic electoral process needs to be put in place in Africa. Until next time, stay up in peace. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Tous les mondes prudentiels, on va être prudent pour l'avenir de ton pays. Oh yo, papa satellite. Aujourd'hui il y a chaud. Il y a le show. Abidjan, il y a le show. Britandera de Mukwata Britala. Chegale mokonzi de tera bango fima motabolondo. Mwana huyu fula malo